Hey, what's up, guys? Little man with a big opinion here. In today's video, we are going to talk about stuff going on in the news. Most recent update when it comes to the whole World War III thing, because that's kind of what's trending. The newest update is the U.S. wants to, impose economic sanctions on Russia if they do decide to invade. And basically, they said the Nord Stream 2 pipeline isn't going to be operational. What that entails, I really don't know. Because, it could be, parts of the pipeline that are not within Russia, we're just going to shut down. It could involve, blowing it up. I don't really know at this point. But General Mark Milley, he also recently came out and said that large portions of the Ukraine would fall in about 72 hours if Russia did decide to invade. And he based his numbers off of, current troops in the area versus, current Ukrainian troops in the area, NATO response. I don't know all of his things for why he says 72 hours. But the thing to keep in mind is the way our technology has advanced. It'll be a very different, war or fighting than we've been used to. The United States has had the luxury of the last 20 to 30 years mainly fighting insurgency, counterterrorism, that sort of thing. We haven't done a conventional war in a long time. And how does that pertain to prepping? Well, obviously, if war breaks out, that's a bad thing. It typically means, consumer goods aren't going to be manufactured to the extent that they were, because most of these places have to, start producing, for a war effort. And, there are certain sacrifices that, the United States would have to make. We haven't had to do a victory garden or, take care of ourselves, alleviate pressure off of the manufacturers for like 85 years. The mindset of taking care of yourself has largely faded from, our mindset. We, make our money, we buy everything we need, and we kind of don't appreciate, the effort it takes to get that product to us. I don't think we'll be highly, as focused on our imports and exports, at least for a little bit until, we get things figured out. But that is another, way that we've fought wars. Convoys and trading have typically been a target in previous wars. So that's something else to keep in mind. I've preached so much that we need to focus on, our own self-sustainability. Get out of the big cities, because literally all of your supplies are brought in from somewhere else. The smaller your area, the more localized your stuff is, the less of a disruption in your life things will happen. Also, when you get outside of the big cities, you can typically spread out a little bit more. You have more space to be able to do those self-sustainability things. Uh, so keep in mind that I'm not advocating for a major conflict. I just want to be prepared for it. And, depending on if you're on the winning or losing side, you can see what's happened with the losing sides. How supplies slowly get to the point where they're so tight. That's the whole reason Germany really, surrendered in World War One. Their supplies just got so tight that it got to the point where they couldn't even feed, their soldiers to keep fighting. Not their, best rations. Uh, every nation has stockpiled supplies before they did some sort of, engagement. Even the Japanese on all of their islands, their commanders would go to great lengths to bring in as much supplies as they could before, the Army and the Marines landed on their beaches. And they fought to the point where, they were, starving and not up to scratch. You know, looking at history, you can see that, yes, wars are technically won by militaries taking cities and defeating armies. But from the logistical side of things, if they don't have beans and bullets, then they're not taking cities and destroying armies. So as a prepper, if we can, ride that storm out as best as we can, that's why I preach stack to the rafters. The other thing I preach, at least for this video, having the capabilities to protect and defend yourself. Because I don't believe our wars are going to be fought on distant battlefields. With our ability to, most modern countries can strike anywhere in the world, whether it be with missiles or dropping troops somewhere. It's not going to be, Army A is holding X spot. Army B's got to go in and take it. It will be some of that. But it'll also be, this group is going to go over here, and they're going to go do their thing, and this group's going to go over here and go do their thing. And, it's going to be like 4D chess between all of our advancements. So, part of your prepping is making sure your firearms are clean, making sure you have a safe place to GTFO to, or get the hell out of Dodge, whichever way you want to call it. If you've got the funds, the time, the energy, setting up a little bunker, even if it's just enough that you hide in it, or not hide in it, hunker down in it till the ground stops shaking, that's better than nothing. And I guess the only other thing that I'm also doing that I think everyone has the capability of doing because it's fairly cheap, I'm using my car to do it. I'm picking up pallet wood. I'm using the 2x4s from the pallet as framing, and I'm using the rest of the pallet to make raised garden beds. They do have their purpose for planting stuff in it, but they also offer pretty decent cover. And I guess the other way you could look at it, because this is the way my wife's looking at it, because she wants it to look cute. So it does offer home value in that sort of way. But, the big point I'm trying to make is you need to be paying attention to the news so you can stay up to date. And that could just be watching my videos. and you need to be actively doing something. I don't have the biggest budget in the world to be burying Connex boxes and creating, doomsday bunkers. But I've got a resource, which is pallet wood, which in most places you can get them, for free. In some instances, you might have to pay a couple of dollars for them. Where I'm at, I can get loads of them anywhere from $1 to $5 a piece. I don't want to pay money for that. Talk with your local Lowe's, talk with the manager. If it's not their painted pallets that they bring in, mostly concrete and heavier stuff, those, they pay a fee on them and they get the money back when they go back to the manufacturer. But all the other pallets, just their regular pallets, are mostly up for the taking. I talked with my local Lowe's. The guy pointed out these are the ones, if you take those, then, we'll charge you for theft because we've got money involved in them. But all of those are the ones that get picked up with the dumpster. So there are things you could be actively doing. You know, this is, I'm pretty sure it's a 1 liter water bottle. I filled it up like 6 or 7 times. When I first got into prepping, I saved all of my 2 liter bottles, rinsed them out, put a couple drops of bleach in them, dumped them out, and then refilled them and stored them away. The plastic breaks down a lot faster because it's thinner than your actual water containers, but it's better than nothing. When you go out to eat, I used to be really, really anal about saving, all of my, salt and pepper packets that came with my meals. I know for Whataburger, for me, they've got honey for the tea. I typically put 1 in my tea and I pocket a couple of rest of them. I stack up 40 or 50 of them. I fill up a mason jar. There are things that can be done on a daily basis to prepare you for issues. And why I think there's a lot of hype and, media attention going around about, Russia and the Ukraine and NATO and stuff. The hype is there, when it comes to, your own personal DEFCON level. You can decide on how seriously you need to be taking this and how not. Because on one side of things, all of Russia's troops are in their borders. We could put our entire military on the Canadian border within the United States. It's perfectly legal. It's our land. We put our troops there. Canada might not like it because it's like, hey, with all of that stuff there, if you really wanted to, you could invade. It's the same with every single country. We've got some reports saying the Kremlin wanted to stage, a false flag. They're going to have people dress up as Ukrainian troops and attack theirs as justification. Russia has said, don't push Ukraine to join NATO. So there's a lot of political back and forth. There's a lot of military movement. There's a lot of talk about, the economics of the situation. It's a lot to digest. That's why you pay attention to the news. Believe who you want to believe. And if you think they're so credible, then, fantastic. Whatever works for you. But with that, let me know in the comment section down below what you're doing to actively prepare. And I created a Rumble account. I'm slowly adding my videos to it. This will be the first video up on both of them. And we'll see where it goes. But with that, like, subscribe, comment, share, do all those things. I'll catch you in the next one.